The best of the morning to you. This is Monday with Friday, preparing you for a better week ahead. My worldview of life, ethics, morality, justice, politics, and society are all informed by my understanding of my faith, deeply entrenched in my Baptist heritage, which, when Baptists are really being Baptists, always pursues liberation, emancipation, and freedom for all. In that Baptist heritage, American men like Martin Luther King or Jamaican men like Paul Bogle and Sam Sharp stand tall, men who, in the name of their faith, laid down their lives while facing down white oppressors who said they shared the same faith that King, Bogle, and Sharp claimed. When someone, without thinking about it carefully, accuses any black Christian of holding a white man's oppressive religion, that person is not being expansive in their thinking or fair in their statement. To be sure, some ideas that some Christians, white, black, or in between hold, are outlandish and should be thoroughly debunked forthwith. The authentic Christian faith, as established by the words and work of Jesus, his extravagant welcome, inclusion, generosity, and the barrier-breaking acts of his apostles in a biblical book by that name, has been corrupted and bastardized in several ways almost from the start. White supremacy and all its vestiges are just one such iteration. A misguided and often deliberate misinterpretation of the cultures in which the Apostle Paul wrote, and some would add, of Paul's own deficiencies, has led to the scourge of slavery, Jim Crow, and other atrocities which many European and American so-called Christians have used in the past and some continue to use in the present to oppress black people, brown people, immigrant people, refugee people, and minority people. It is wrong and it is not Christian. In my book, the one behind me here, available on Amazon.com, I relate my experience visiting the Gold Coast of Ghana, Africa, some years ago. A huge castle, now a tourist attraction, includes a massive dungeon where captured Africans were warehoused, awaiting the ships that would transport them through the awful Middle Passage. A stone's throw from that dungeon is the ocean, and a huge gateway with very heavy doors labeled the Door of No Return. Our tour guide painstakingly repeated that these human beings were held there in that dungeon, living in their own urine, perspiration, vomit, feces, menstruation fluids, and pus, as well as the bodily fluids oozing from the bodies of those who died there. Pointing to a cavity way up in the ceiling, he indicated that the captors would throw through that opening the food and water that these human beings were to consume right there in the midst of their urine, perspiration, vomit, feces, menstruation fluids, pus, and oozing dead bodies. The remarkable thing about this dungeon is that when one emerges from it back to level land and light, the marvelous beauty of the great fortress wall around the castle awaits. Beyond the wall is the magnificent Atlantic Ocean. But amid this beauty is a harrowing sight. It is a chapel so close to the dungeon it would have been impossible for its worshippers not to have heard the cries of those African human beings below. What manner of human is this? What kind of Christian is this who could sit in a place of worship while the humans they imprisoned wailed in pain for their freedom? After I related this story in a white church I was pastoring a few years back, an old white man told me he thought I was hateful and that he was never going to return so long as I served there, and he kept his promise. 468 of America's 535 members of Congress identify as Christian. Most are white, representing 43 states, where Republican governors and legislators who say they are Christians are now callously, heartlessly, lawlessly, and unjustifiably making laws, setting up barriers designed to rob black and brown people of their right to vote, all based on a big lie. Now, when I could say a variation of that in a white congregation as I did yesterday, and while some bristled at such comments in the past and probably today, some, on the other hand, today could say amen, and I could hear them saying amen, I know that the fight is slowly being won. Now, if all of these men and women in Congress embraced in their laws, policies, declarations, and votes the fundamental Christian ethic, not doctrine, ethic, that all humans deserve their dignity, their fair share of the created order, the created pie, and justice of every kind, despite their language, culture, race, religion, or their several identities, America would indeed be a country with liberty and justice for all. Until then, the affirmation in that pledge remains a dastardly lie. Now look, we may never ever end the systems of racism or detach them from corrupted religious underpinnings or justifications. But we must, however, all continue to press for each privileged human to recognize not only the humanity in other humans who are underprivileged, but to honor more the siblinghood of all humankind. It is to that idea I shall return next week, based on a premise to which many of us subscribe. For now, please share this video with someone and ask them to subscribe to my channel. I am Michael Friday, and your week just got better. I'll see you again next week. Happy Monday, all the way to Friday.